Okay, so thank you for coming. So we're from CERT-EU, which is a cybersecurity service or European Union institutions, bodies, and agencies, or union entities, as we say. And we will speak about something that we really wanted to do, which is to open source a board game. So a few years ago, we designed a board game for user awareness that we are using with our constituency. And we wanted to share it with the community, so we tried to open source it. But later, a bit more on that. Okay. First, so I'm Emilien Le Jamtel. I'm the head of sector of IT support and services, which is mostly responsible for the infrastructure at CERT-EU. And with me, I have Francien, which is a legal officer at CERT-EU, and Marton, which is an IT security officer and work in the security consultation team, which is a team which is the most involved in communication and awareness with union entities. Okay, so I will start. I will speak a bit about the board game, what it is, how we play it, and what it's for. Then Marton will speak a bit about how we conduct awareness session, and especially how the board games that we design is used during those awareness sessions. And finally, Francien will explain a bit the process to actually open source board game when you work in the European Commission. Okay, so the game, you can see there is a box here. It's named React. And it's a game around 20 minutes. So it was designed by CERT-EU staff, as well as a company we worked with named Wavestone. We work with a great artist. You will see every illustration we will use during this talk is actually by this great artist, Robert Keith. We got some support to an editor to put everything together to be sure it would be properly printed. And we actually worked on it for several months, there and there, when we had a bit of time. And it was released in 2023 for the first time, and we've been using it for awareness sessions since then. Of course, the theme is cybersecurity. That's actually, if it was not the case, we will probably not be here today. And regarding mechanics, I will get into too much more details, but it's about data building, cooperation, and there is a very specific aspect to it, is there is a game master to actually conduct the sessions. Okay, so the game, our main idea is an attack and defense game. So basically, players will play the defense, and they will have to face different cybersecurity attacks and find what are the best measures, what are the best implementation technologies they could put to fight against those specific attacks. Okay, and then at every turn they will have to choose. Bug. Okay. So every turn new attacks will be faced off, and then players will have to choose what are the best way to actually fight them. So regarding the components, they are there. So we have a game board where we will put the cards. We have. I will show. Oh, it's all new. We have a set of cards, so around 70 of them, which can be attack cards, some blue one for defense, some defense plus cards. Yes, good job, Marton. Excellent. Of course, we have a player manual to explain the rules. Even if I will explain it, it may be useful. And some game flow cards. So that's a help for the players to remember what's happening on every turn. And finally, very important, we have a game master screen. So the game master screens is only visible for the game master, and that's what helps the game master to know which card defense is useful against which attack. So cards are pretty straightforward. You have a nice illustration. You can see the malicious USB key here. So we have plenty of those, plenty different ones. Could be with a different category. You always have a description, and you have a reference which will help the game master to figure out which card is useful against which one. Regarding for the players, they have defense and defense plus cards. The main difference is that the defense plus will actually be used for several turns, whereas the defense will be used only once. And then you have recovery card as well as some bonus cards to help fight against, I would say, more difficult threat. And finally, you will have some event cards which will bring a bit of chaos into the pace of the game. Okay, so the initial setup is pretty straightforward, but it's very important because that's where most of the communication will happen. So the game master will choose the difficulty he wants, and then he can adapt that by choosing how many turns, so how many different attacks the player will have to face. Once he has this pile of attack, and that's very important, the player will choose which defense cards. So it can be done one after each other, or it can be done all together, and then everybody look at the card and say, okay, I will pick this one, I will pick this one. And to bring a bit of balance into the game, the more players you have, the less cards you will be authorized to keep. And that's a very important part because that's usually most of where the interaction happen. And finally, we have some recovery and bonus cards, which will help the players to fight some stuff, and game can start. And finally, before passing the end to Marton, the game flow is pretty straightforward. New attack cards is revealed in a turn, then every player will pick one of his cards he has in his hand. So he needs to choose which is the most relevant one for the actual attack he needs to face. He may actually have to face several ones, even because there is an event or because he was not able to repeal the previous attack. So then you will have to use special cards, the recovery and the bonus cards. Once every player chooses a card, they are on the table, and then the game master will check with his nice board to see if the card selected by the players will actually be useful against a specific attack. And finally, a new event is triggered. New event is very important because it could be a good event, like you get more defense, you get more budget. It could be nothing, just take a coffee. Or it could be actually a worst case scenario, you will not face one, but 2 attacks in the next round. And then, next turn, and go and go on and go on. But the very important part is that during all this phase, we encourage players to speak with each other, to decide, to argue on the most useful prevention mechanism or things like that. But to give more details to that, I will give the floor to Marton, which will speak about awareness sessions.
Thank you, Emilien. Hi, everyone. So indeed, my name is Marton, and I work at the security consultation team at CERT-EU. So what we do, our team is responsible indeed for the first communication, let's say, with union entities. Union entities is the term that we use to describe all the bodies, institutions, offices, joint undertakings of the European Union public administration. So we are the ones who are explaining them the CERT-EU services. We are getting feedback from them regarding these services and listening to their needs. And we are giving this feedback to our management and the different teams in CERT-EU to be able to improve these services. Besides that, we also advise union entities on how to integrate our services into their existing IT workflows, and we have these awareness sessions. So we believe in CERT-EU that improving cybersecurity can also be fun, and actually so the first big part is spreading good cybersecurity hygiene best practices to allow our colleagues, to report cyber incidents and suspicious activity faster and with more accuracy. And as a bonus, they also get a board game at each session, at the end of each session. So Emilien talked about the game master already. So the game master is there to animate the game, to generate discussion with the colleagues, with the players. The game master can also adapt the difficulty of the game and the duration. So for example, if someone needs to go back to a meeting or something like that, they can make it shorter. If there is more time, they can make it longer. And to provoke discussions, typically at the beginning of the game, when the defense cards, so the defenses are built, so which defense cards to choose, for example, they can help. So what are the most popular or most common feedback that we receive from these sessions? Well, the game is easy if you pay attention. It's kind of obvious, but it's a good reminder. There is a lot of discussion usually during or after the game for the card association. So which defense cards are valid for which attack cards, why this didn't work against this attack and these kind of things. But this is the sort of the objective of all this of the game. And we have usually receive a lot of ideas for improvements or for example, why don't you create a new language version of the game? Currently, this is only available in English. Or covering other scenarios, or I don't know, version for kids, for example. We have also received something like that. So for the future, in CERT-EU, we are planning some extension packs. For example, to cover the scenario of system hardening for system administrators, for developers, cover, for example, OWASP, top 10 attacks, stuff like that. And to help the community, we have had this idea of open sourcing the game. And then with that, I give the floor to my colleague, Francien.
Yes, so indeed, we want to open source it, but then how does that process actually work? So more on that now. So also first, like, why did we want to open source it? So first, it was the initial reason really to help the community to have also this tool available that can be accessible and modifiable and shareable. So to just spread it out to the community. And also mainly because in the last two years since we designed the board game and have been using it with our constituents, the feedback was very positive, and so we felt like it works well, and we want to share it. And of course, it doesn't hurt to spread our name a bit around, so we're not completely without any intention there. So a bit of fame also is nice. However, at CERT-EU, we're part of the bigger organization as the European Commission. So we really have to abide and follow all the procedures there. So first, I have to explain maybe Eureka. So Eureka is the internal system for the identification and searchability of all IP assets that are created within the Commission. So there are, let's say, around 8 different categories, and it ranges from software, very important, but also things like just documents, but also designs, logos, inventions, you name it. So everyone in the Commission can create a new asset and to register it there. So on the screen, you see the interface, and in the Commission, as a staff member, you can search through it, you can see all the assets. So here we created our new asset, and I think, yes, we did it as an illustration because there was no separate category for a board game, so I have to choose one. So yes, we created this, seemed relatively easy. But apart from the registration, actually the more relevant parts, and also from the legal side, is then to decide which license to use. And this is also part of the broader policy of the European Commission about the reuse of documents, which is built on 3 main objectives. So really to facilitate the reuse of Commission documents. Since we're a public institution, the idea is to, well, let the public also access those or use them. Also to enhance the Commission's image as an open organization. So just to, well, be open and transparent about everything that we do internally. And very important, to avoid unnecessary administrative burden. So this is the overarching policy on the reuse. And then there have been 2 separate specific decisions on the implementation of this policy. So there's a distinction between software, for which the Commission decided, okay, by default, all software should be published using the European Union public license. So this was created by the European Commission itself. And then for documents, which is a bit of a weird term because it covers way more than just documents. It covers almost all of the other assets I named before. So also audio, video stuff, brands, inventions, etc. And for that, it was decided to use by default a Creative Commons license. And also it is possible to deviate from this default options, but it requires some justification, etc. So we thought, let's not make it more complicated and go for the default. So the default license for documents, so to say, is more specifically the Creative Commons CC by 4.0. So Creative Commons, it's a non-profit organization that just has these different types of licenses. And this particular one is actually the most permissive one. So after a study was conducted by the Commission, it was decided that this one would be the most appropriate and in line with the policy on the reuse of documents. And yeah, mainly because it's the most permissible one. So some aspects or elements of this particular license is that it can be used by anyone, and importantly also can be used for commercial activities. And users can also adapt freely whatever they want. We do, or not we, but the license does require that some attribution is required. So yeah, you have to give us credit. And very importantly, which is a good thing, it doesn't have any share-alike provisions, because it was decided if there would be a share-alike provision, meaning that every derivative would have to have the same license, it would unnecessarily limit the possibilities. So you can use like baked derivatives and choose to have another license. You don't have to have the same.
Oh, yeah. So this part is on me again because that's mostly my fault. Okay, so October 2024, after our actual CERT-EU conference, I was discussing with my colleague Ludivine, which is the head of sector of security consultation team. Like, okay, we already distributed around, I don't know, 400 boxes, something like that, to a lot of people. We got a lot of praise about it. Say, okay, looks like people like it. Let's make it usable for everybody. And I wanted to come to Copenhagen, so I say, hey, I could actually make a talk about it. So, okay, let's do the official release during the first conference. So then it will, you know, bring a bit of visibility into it, and then everybody will be there with the community and everything. So that's how it started in 2024. Okay. December 2024, I got in touch with Francien saying, oh, all the legal aspects look interesting. Okay, join in. I went to Marton saying, okay, you come and you speak with me as well. So let's go. We built a little submission. We wrote some stuff, what we will do and everything. Okay, excellent. Plan as planned. February 2025, good news, guys. We got our submission accepted. So, okay, let's move on. Okay, it will be easy, straightforward, right? So let's relax a bit. There and there, Marton collects the files, we look into it, okay, looks okay. Francien learn about the existence of Eureka, so okay, looks straightforward. Let's speak a bit with the people from the commissions. And yes, the plan should be like we come today and we can tell you that it was very, very smooth. Right? Here comes the legal people.
Yes, so indeed, it all sounded very, very easy. So indeed, Eureka, got the files from Marton, great. We had some contact with the IP office, so intellectual property office of the commission. Those are the people that actually know about Eureka, and yes, and I didn't know that much. And they were all like, oh, good, good, good. And then in the beginning of May, we got this email. And I guess it's a bit too small to see, but in essence it said that the use of these trademarks would infringe on the exclusive rights of their owners. As you can see, there are some very well-known logos on some of the cards, and I think both the Commission and CERT-EU in particular, like no one would maybe want to be on the other end of a lawsuit launched by one of those. So they very politely told us to maybe stop with the process and until this is fixed, not go ahead and not risk getting in some sort of trademark issue with some of these companies. And also, yeah, it was still a bit unclear, like the logos are very clearly a trademark. Then, yes, the words, the @Gmail, it was all a bit, At least they were like, okay, halt. Figure this out before, or at least discuss it before you can go ahead. So that's why we are here now. So mainly it's all our own fault, of course. But some other reasons maybe why we got to this point is that initially, of course, the game was really created for security consultation. So it was really meant to be played with our constituents internally. So there was not really a consideration about, oh, what if we do it publicly or trademarks, etc. Then also from a legal perspective, interesting that, of course, if you do any procurement within the commission, there are a lot of standardized, a lot of terms and conditions and pages and pages and pages, which actually include provisions that anything, any output that we would procure would be free of any intellectual property issues or trademarks. So if we receive something, it should either be cleared or they should provide us with a list of things that it contains, so we're aware. So in essence, we wouldn't really be liable, but the contractor would be liable, but also not great because we like the contractor. Also, we didn't really think about it. He didn't think about it, so we all didn't think about it. And then, of course, the problem became a bit too late, so in May. So then it was like, okay, what can we do? Because we don't want to give up on the idea of open sourcing it. So initially, Emilien here tried to redraw the cards himself to remove all the trademarks. Turned out to be a bit more complicated. So at the end of the day, we decided, okay, we contacted the designer again, and he is now going to redraw the images to just avoid any potential issues when it comes to the trademarks. So that's currently ongoing, but it needed a bit of time. And then afterwards, we again have to put it in Eureka, and it needs to be submitted there, and then we have to really publish it. And then a personal mistake or bad timing on my part, I went on a holiday the last 2 weeks, so maybe, who knows, maybe the cards are ready by now, and it's all ready to go, but still I needed to check it. So yes, but not all hope is lost, I would say.
Okay, so I will close now a bit. We have plenty of time, actually, we are quite in advance. So what's next? Of course, we'll finalize the process of open sourcing the game, and we'll probably spend a lot of time going through every asset and clearing everything before we move on. When it's done, we will publish it. We will make an announcement on a blog post. We'll reach out to the communities that we are part of to explain to them. We'll try to have some sessions and have people start playing with the game so they can think about how to improve it, how to make derivative out of it. So that's the main idea, and we hope, I will not give a timeline because it looks like we are not great as matching timelines. But it's planned, and of course security consultation, we continue to work on some extensions, some extra materials, but the idea is from the start, no, we will design them to be open sourced, right? So all these considerations, we will manage them in advance, and so we should not face the same issues. And yes, that's it. One last comment, we bring 3 boxes with us, so we'll probably give them as gift for those which are winning the CTF. For the teams, right? So participate and come to my next talk about keyboards to help you. Okay.
Thank you so much. Very interesting talk. Is there any? Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you for the initiative, and I think it's great. I'm just wondering something about trademark. If I recall correctly, the recital 21 of the transposition of the directive about trademark, the artistic expressions are completely excluded as considered as a fair use. So in this case, it's an artistic expression. It's not fair use, cannot be considered here?
No, I checked, discussed it with the IP office, and they were quite clearly, especially when it's like well-known brands, they have a higher level of protection, which most of the ones that the logos that were on the cards would be considered like very established, well-known brands. So I don't think the artistic expression, or they told me no, it wouldn't be. Whereas indeed, I agree with you, like it's not necessarily, it seems quite innocent, but apparently not. And then I think there was also a bit, especially that one of the cards, maybe it was also like associated with an attack or a bad thing, some association. So it was a bit tricky. So they were quite clear, like, no, there's no way.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We have more time for another question. Sorry. Sorry.
Did you actually consider asking for permission to use logos?
No, no. Well,
No.
I mean, I wonder a bit. I mean, indeed, like could have been, but I'm not sure if time-wise that would have been better than what we're doing now. Yes.
Yes.
Right. Just a few questions. So maybe I missed it, but what's like the main learning objective of the game? What are sort of the target groups that you had in mind? And also, I was really interested to see how did you distribute, or how did you get the game out there? So the sort of distribution.
So the learning objective is to raise general cybersecurity hygiene, best practices in the user community, and the target community is basically the staff of the European Union institutions, offices, and so on. So these union entities, anybody who works in these agencies, basically. And the last question was, sorry.
How do you get it out there to people? Like, do you sign up for it, or do you go to team leads and say, "Hey, look, this is a great game. Why don't you play it with people? It's about cyber hygiene or whatever."
Yeah. So CERT-EU has a service catalog, including many services, and cyber awareness is one package, let's say there, and it's part of that package. So when we talk to our constituency about our services, we promote the services, and then we say, okay, here it is. It's available for request, basically. And when they request it, we schedule this train the trainer sessions. So we train game masters on their side. We go there, we train them, and then they are free to play in their own community.
Thank you. One more question.
Hi. With respect to target audience, I think you formally described your target audience by being constituents, but can you say something about the ability of the target audience? What kind of expert or non-expert level would you want playing this game?
It varies from the spectrum, so from one extreme to the other extreme of the spectrum. Let's say we have, for example, so there is the Cybersecurity Agency of the European Union. This is one of our constituents, so they are also there. But normal, people, without any, any specific cybersecurity knowledge at all. Okay. And anything in between.
Okay. Thank you so much, and I beg an applause for the speakers.